Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estáis? Bienvenidos a las finales aquí en Madrid, en el Palacio Vista Alegre. Tenemos ya los equipos preparados y el primer equipo es Misfits. En la top lane, Fury. En la jungla, Maxlor. En la calle central, Cooks. En la posición de carry, Hansama. Como support, Mikix. Y como entrenador, Usain Mosby. Pero tienen un rival, y el rival es Team Vitality. En la top lane, Cabochard. En la jungla, Kikis. En la calle central, Isuke. En la posición de carry, Ocho. Como support, Troll. Y como entrenador, el guapísimo Yamato Cannon. Todo preparado, disfruten de este tercer y cuarto puesto. Misfits contra Vitality, adiós.
Muchos gracias, Ibai, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined by Martin Fischerlanger and Christy Ender Frierson. Gentlemen, there's a lot of volume in this crowd already, but they took the roof off for Hansama.
Yeah, they absolutely lost their minds. They're excited. I'm excited. This match, stakes behind it. These teams' vitality with a chance to go to Worlds on the line. It doesn't get better than this.
Yeah, just to make it clear, if Vitality win today and Fnatic wins tomorrow, then Vitality will get the second seed and go to Worlds. So there's so much on the line for them. Where Misfits, they're playing for better seeding in the gauntlet.
Yes, and of course, if you're a Schalke fan, you want Misfits to win because that means Schalke goes to Worlds as well. We're getting ourselves ready for picks and bans for Game 1 in our third place decider. Now, gentlemen, I want to start talking about the junglers. When we look back to the semi-finals, we saw an Ivern from Maxlor. We saw a pivot from Kikis going towards those marksmen. And I'm going to start with you, Ender. Let's talk a little bit about these players as we see the Misfits logo up on stage. Let's talk about the junglers and the impact they're going to have in this best of 5.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Vitality and Kikis, this player came in and transformed this roster. He started with an aggressive playstyle, invading a lot of early game ganks, and when he's on a champion that can deal damage, that's really when I feel like Vitality looks strongest.
100%, especially because they like to play around these very early games with a lot of action, very fast pace, a lot of focus on to actually fight the enemy team. Luckily, on the other side with Maxlor, when he's not on Ivern, also wants to fight because he's shown us some very aggressive picks here in the semifinal.
It was such a good recovery there from the mascot, and we need to see a recovery.
I tried
from
to ignore that so the viewers didn't notice.
The Fisher, it's an analogy of the Misfits season. After not making playoffs in spring, to being in the third place decider and getting that optimal seeding in the regional qualifier as much as is possible to them, there is a lot on the line for Misfits. They have to show the world that the quarterfinal team from last year is still competitive here.
And even the quarterfinal team from this year, because they 3-0'd G2, they looked like that undefeated roster at the start of the summer split. And then against Fnatic, they almost took that team down, right? They were in a situation where they were almost 2-1 up in the semifinals and could have easily been playing tomorrow for it all.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about the players, some of the stakes, as well as the stories. I want you boys to go on record now. Let's pick some specific champions that you A, expect to see, and or B, know you're going to see. Fisher, where do you think these teams are going to prioritize their bans coming into game one?
Well, we know that both teams will value trying to get superior jungle matchup and get the strongest 2v2 bot lane possible. It's really the two ways they are actually trying to draft and win games. So Vitality have selected red side in the first one. I don't think necessarily on their side they have to show too much in the first rotation, as long as they kick is a winning matchup.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Get a jungler that can play hard in this early game, and it's gonna all come down to this quick shot.
It really will. I love seeing that Ergon ban from anybody that watched LCK finals earlier today. It was the #1 priority pick, and it's taken off the table. You can also see Maxwell's jungle picks from the semifinal.
Now here's the thing, in the semifinals, Maxlor started off on this super supportive style with the Ivern. It didn't work for him, but then Misfits pivoted. They put him on early game playmakers that could deal damage, like the Olaf, the Xin Zhao, the Kindred. This is what I sort of expect to see out of Misfits, because they found their identity later in the series, almost too late to get the win.
And now while we talked a lot about junglers, there is one mid lane pick I want to mention. It is the Ryze, which has been the go-to carry for Jizuke. If he's not on a normal traditional roaming pick, Ryze is the one for him.
Now, I'd say Rakan has been banned in every single game of playoffs against Mickey X. As soon as Vitality leave that open, you know they're going to lock this champion in. He has been such an insane playmaker and was the big reason why they won so many games at the start of the split.
So what are they trading for the Rakan? Knowing it's going to get locked in. What have they prepared?
Oh.
Leona against Rakan coming in the bottom lane from Jack Troll. One of the supports who's not afraid of pulling out some special picks.
Look, this is a pick that does so well into the Rakan because we know this champion's squishy, even squishier on patch 8.16 after some nerfs. So the lockdown of a Leona along with an Ezreal early on could be the tool to try and shut down Mickey X.
I am a little bit surprised with the Ezreal, knowing the bot lane of Vitality. I would have been like, they're going to go Varus with this Leona here. Just like all in level 2, go level 3, go level 4, and just keep killing them. But Xayah Rakan, no surprise once you have the Rakan already on the side of Misfits. You got to be careful before you get level 6 on this Xayah here, because you are a target for Leona.
I cannot wait to see how Jack Troll pulls this one out. Of course, remember last year, Misfits pulled out that Leona at Worlds. It's a long time ago. Gentlemen, the two 100% presence picks in playoffs was Akali and Braum. Akali had 15 bans, goes unpicked with Senkax and Jizuke, and of course that Braum not going to be possible this time around.
Akali was banned in every single game so far when Misfits and Vitality played in playoffs, and they were the ones banning it every single time. So we don't expect it to be a huge pick in this series unless one of the mid laners will surprise us.
Yeah, but we don't expect the surprise because these players play to sort of enable their team. For Senkax, it was about the Lulu in the semifinals. For Jizuke, he's always been on these roaming champions like the Ryze you mentioned, but the Galio has been a consistent pick that if it's not banned away, you expect him to go for to support Kikis, who's now on this Kindred.
There's the Ryze ban mentioned much earlier as kind of the key champ for Jizuke. He's going to be a big damage dealer on the side of Vitality. Now, what they like to do is they grab the bot lane and the jungle pick in the first phase, and then they take top lane and mid lane in the second phase. And while Vitality typically have tried to draft a tank top lane, Cabochard is the player who has 10 million counter picks ready, so they can wait with his pick, but they already know it's against the Cho'Gaths.
Yeah, I feel like you take the top lane right now. The Scion will be the choice for Cabochard, and now there's no shenanigans. We know that, Senkax can play things like the Twisted Fate. I think that actually could be a really strong champion for him, but now Jizuke is going to have the chance to sit back and have the perfect matchup in this game.
And according to the picks we just showed there from Jizuke, the only one left is the Taliyah pick. Now, he is last picking, so it is an option for him. When he blind picked it, he got shot down hard. Senkuk's going right back to supportive style, and we get a carry jungler from Maxwell. This is exactly what Misfits did in the semi-final. Now, Jizuke, are you picking a roaming champion, or are you trying to beat Senkuk's in the mid lane?
I think if you take the Syndra, you're definitely looking to beat him in the mid lane. And actually, if you take a damage-oriented mid laner against something like the Lulu, you can try to maybe bully that around, win those 2 versus 2s, because you're going to bring more flat damage to the table. And with a pick like the Syndra, the aggression out of this bottom lane as well, this is a team comp in very Vitality style that's going to try to run you over in the mid game.
First time Syndra for Jizuke. Deficio, I didn't know how to read that all. What do you think of the team composition from Vitality?
When I saw the Leona bot lane, it screamed to me they would get a mid lane pick like a Talia that could just go bot lane non-stop and play around this aggressive engage support, but instead they're valuing what they can try and do in the 1v1 mid lane. Now, Lulu is not a bad laner by any means, but level 6 Syndra with a jungler there is one of the strongest skirmish mid laners we will get. There's a chance Vitality will start focusing the ganks around mid lane for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it's true, because they usually don't gank mid lane with just Kikis, but they will bring Cabochard to the party. When he was playing the Kled up against Schalke just last week, he ran it straight down mid. They looked for the kills. The Scion is a champion that can do very similar things and roam with the ultimate to set up for a potential Jizuke carry here in Madrid.
Potential Jizuke carry. Let's see if he can redeem some of the playoff performances of the 2018 season. The team compositions are on your screens. And of course, the votes have already been locked in. I'm taking a look at some of those keystones. And Ender, is that a Dark Harvest that I see?
Yeah, it's a Dark Harvest for the Graves here. I love it because after the Electrocute nerfs, junglers, you don't actually lose out on that much damage early on with the Dark Harvest. Maxwell is going to look to get those stacks, scale up, and one-shot people later on into the game.
A lot of pressure on the shoulders of Misfits and Vitality for Vitality fighting for an improvement in spring. They took 4th place. And they want to
fighting for worlds, man.
Yeah, today. Improve on their local performance and then take it to the World Championships. Deficio playing here in the Palacio Vistalegre in Madrid, which is a special place for Attila as well. And I love hearing that roar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live for the finals weekend here in Spain. And we're off to a big one. So, Ender, talk us through the early opening phases of this game. It's a slightly different draft to what we've been seeing throughout the playoffs. Where do you expect the action to happen?
I'm expecting the action to happen between these 2 junglers. Maybe it's going to be fighting over a Scuttle Crab, but specifically, I give the edge here to Vitality. Notice that Jizuke is walking into lane with that red sweeper, so if he can actually clear out a ward here before minions spawn, he's going to get the earlier level 2 and be able to help kick us out if a skirmish breaks out.
Yeah, that's kind of awesome thing here. We're going to have the jungle matchup, as Ender just talked about, but we're also going to look towards Jizuke on Syndra and Jack Troll on Leona. They gave away Mickey's Rakan, perma-banned so far in playoffs, and now we need to see if this pick can actually do something.
But the junglers, this is really what it all comes down to. Again, these are 2 junglers that are just the backbones of these teams. So good against the rest of the competition. For Kikis, it was him coming into this Vitality team, giving them that push to finish 2nd in the regular season. And for Maxlor, when he's on his game, when he's playing around the bottom half of the map, that is how Misfits win their games.
Yeah, and a really interesting thing about our top 4 teams here in Europe is 2 of the teams have greedy junglers. They play for themselves. They want to be fed. They want to be the carries. That's Maxwell and Kikis facing each other today. The more supportive junglers, that's Broxa and Amazing, who's playing tomorrow. So it's going to be a battle of who can actually carry the hardest when you're playing for yourself as a jungler here.
I absolutely love that. These mini titles, mini bragging rights battles where junglers of somewhat similar styles can go in for one another. Now, Kikis has an opportunity to get in behind Hans Summer and Mickey. Flashes are available. The Zenith Blade manages to catch Hans Summer. Battle Dance comes back out, and there's the flash already. End up trading 80 carry flash for support.
Brilliant trade there from Vitality, and we know the last time these teams faced, these teams clashed, it was Kikis hard camping bottom lane that shut down Hans Sama and netted Vitality the win. We're started off very similar already.
Exactly, and the reason for that strategy from Vitality and why it was so successful is because when Misfits bot lane falls behind, the team falls apart. They simply can't play the game without a lead on Hansama and without Mickey in a position where he can start fights because he's an aggressive support. He wants to be a playmaker. And being a playmaker when behind is very, very difficult.
Yeah, and that's why I almost want to see here, does Maxlor make his way towards the bottom half of the map? Because right now, Vitality, Attila and Jack Troll are pushing, but without a flash on Leona, there is potential to try and lock him down.
He's going to go bot lane because his camps are up and he's going to farm his own camp, so he's going to feel nice. I don't know if he's actually going to dare gank anything here in the early game. Could look for something. Jizuke is fairly low around mid, and Jack Troll is pushing without flash. So there's two openings, mid or bot lane for Maxlor.
Yeah, and of course, I want to keep my eyes on that Mickey storyline that you were talking about, Ender. This Rakan has been banned all tournament long. Just talking about that positioning from Maxlor to Fisher. You can see him clearing out the camps. A couple of pings on some of the wards down on the Vitality side. Opening few minutes, nobody has conceded a kill yet, despite the fact that Kikis had a successful gank, showed up at the right time, and was able to get that flash from Hansama.
And you know, typically when you see two marksman junglers playing against each other, they're not the greatest early game ganks. They don't bring a lot of CC to the table, so you expect it to be a little bit slower. So the fact that Kikis got a flash around the bottom lane, I don't think is too worrisome because it will be difficult to repeat that and actually punish the lack of summoner from Hansama.
Yeah, you can see the ward in the lane brush placed by Misfits because they know Jack Troll is going to sit there, and the way for him to engage now is without flash is obviously landing his E, get onto Hansama, who doesn't have ulti this early in the game, but when the lane is warded or the brush is warded, they see him, they can just sidestep.
Now, if we're looking forward to the next engagement, 20 seconds top lane river. That's when the Scuttle Crab spawns. Both junglers are already positioned around the area. And with Jizuke this low, they're going to look for a play.
Oh, take a look at that. Scatter the Weak comes in. Jizuke's out of mana, though. Very defensive flash from Kikis.
That was very early, but we got to remember he had no vision because he got smoke bombed, so he didn't actually know 100% what was going on around him.
Oh, Zenith Blade misses. Remember, Jack Troll's got no flash available. Knocked up into the air by Mickey. Rooted down by Hansama. Attila's got a lot of damage onto Mickey, though, and turns the damage back into Misfits.
I'm very glad that this start is action-packed. That's what we promised the viewers when it's Misfits versus Vitality. It's two early game focused teams, and we've already had 3 different fights.
And it's plays around the bottom lane, too. They're going to continue to search. Now, of course, Maxlor did get control over the top side, but Jizuke, low mana, low health, and he's on top of a ward.
Oh, take a look at this. Jizuke's now going to try get away. Has flash and heal available to him if it's needed, but I'm holding on to that thought for now. Jack Troll is now going to be the target of Mickey. No, turns it back around. Hansama's caught out. Jack Troll's going low, caught out. First blood picked up by Misfits.
Big mistake there from Jack Troll to go for the engage. Now Maxlor is on the way as well. Misfits crush the 2v2 down bot.
Oh, Maxlor. Attila still with flash. He should be able to just get out, but they can push the lane here. Jizuke, meanwhile, managed to walk away in the river. Mainly actually because Vitality had pushed in bot lane, but that push then resulted in a fight that Jack Troll really didn't want to take. So far, the Leona, not successful.
Yeah, he thought he could turn it around, but just took way too much damage. We're going to get one more look at it, because again, there's no flash on Hansama, so Jack Troll thinks he can go straight back and turn it around, but there's minions blocking the Qs from Attila. That makes it so easy for Hansama to turn it straight back onto the Leona.
Also, that Ignite, it just came up once he jumped into the fight and Hansama had used heal, so he couldn't actually properly try and nuke someone down. Defensive summoners from Hansama, that's enough. Jack Troll's around mid, will be spotted by this ward here.
Yeah, stood right on top of that ward, and for Vitality, another early game sort of misplay. We take a look at some of their early game stats from the regular season, week 6 through 9, when Kikis joined the squad, and then in the semifinals, and there was quite a stark difference in their performance.
There absolutely was. Of course, when Vitality are able to crush through early games like they did in the later half of the season, they won all of their games. They dropped 1 against Schalke, and that was it. But then, in the semifinals, they weren't able to have that same impact early on. You'll notice actually a gold deficit at 15, which is just uncharacteristic for this squad.
Yeah, and I think a large problem for Vitality was actually some of the drafts they had prepared during the 2 weeks they were waiting for that semi-final. They were very focused on one way to win the game, and if that one way backfired, mainly in the early game, could be like the bot lane didn't win hard enough, or Kikis didn't succeed in shutting down the enemy jungler, then suddenly the composition just didn't work. Now with this Leona pick here and giving over Rakan, they're once again saying, we will gamble in the draft. It's not working yet. Let's see what happens mid.
Here comes Mickey! Looking for the knockup, manages to find Jizuke. The Wild Growth throws him up again. Lamb's Respite's going to buy so much time for Vitality to escape. but Jizuke under a lot of pressure from Misfits.
But he holds on to the flash. That's the important one right there. And he continues to dominate in this mid lane. Even after continued ganks from Maxlor and the rest of the team, he's been able to build up a massive lead up against Senkux.
You can see that 14 CS already. Senkux has gone back to pick up those Merc Treads, Exalt Shoes for Jizuke at 8 minutes. 700 gold up for the Misfits squad. And there's a lot of tension and energy, despite it only being 8 minutes in. Multiple attempted ganks, multiple roams, and Maxlor and Mickey, they've got themselves a potential here onto Attila. Attila's already used the Arcane Shift. There goes Mickey in for the dive. Hits some damage onto Jack Troll, but it was optimistic. They got the flash at least.
This is especially important to get that flash, though, because Mickey X is going to hit level 6 very soon. That's when there's kill threat in this lane, and an Ezreal without the flash is going to be a target they can look for.
Yeah, and that's kind of the key thing when you play against Leona. You're mainly scared of her in the early game. Like, during the laning phase is where her all-in potential with Ignite is actually enough to kill almost every single bot lane you're going to face. But because Jack Troll died with the second fight they had on the bottom side, because now they've forced a flash from Attila and the Ezreal is not too scary sitting on a tier, well, you're kind of past the hard part of this lane if you're Misfits, and your Syra Khan lane is only getting stronger.
Yeah, you never want to give Hansama kills in the early game, because this has been, for a long time, one of the best AD carry players we have in the league. Him and Mickey X, I still think, are the best 2v2 duo here in Europe, and Misfits are so prepared in this series to continue to play around and support them.
Now they're looking to force them away here. Jack Troll, no level 6 on his side. Attila, no flash. And Mickey, he's ready. Needs a couple of seconds on his own flash there, but he does have ult. He wants to just get a bit of damage, chipping away. Don't want to go for too much. Copper Shot is roaming down, though.
All right, first time we're really seeing the top laners getting involved just yet. Neither of them have their teleports. Alfari and Cabo both on cooldown for now.
Let's see if they actually engage onto Mickey, because he can't really save himself once he gets stunned. Hansama with ulti, if he's quick, can use it to dodge the initial all-in. Jack Troll level 6 got hit now, so they time it with the wave.
This is so ambitious, though, because right now Kikis is actually counter-jungling on the top side of the map, so we're in this situation where Vitality are looking to force a play in an area where Kikis is just not grouped up, ready with the rest of the team.
Yeah, very true. So they couldn't go for tower dive, which is why they ended up walking away, because the Misfits bot lane respected, hey, Sion has gone back to base. There is a chance he's coming to the bottom lane. So good call on Misfits' side. And because Vitality didn't have Kikis down here, well, they couldn't actually go for an all-in.
Gentlemen, I'm seeing a very common trend this game. Misfits looking bottom, sniffing, not finding an opportunity. Vitality looking bottom, not finding an opportunity. Right now, Maxwell will find some damage onto Jizuke. And I think one of the reasons that bottom lane matchup has been so impactful, and one of the things we're talking about, is Hansama versus Attila. We talked about the value they have for their teams. You can see their CSC numbers from playoffs, their damage percentages for the respective teams, and both of these guys really lead their squads when it comes to winning games.
And it's so clear that Misfits look to play around Hansama too, because he averages almost 10 CS up at 15. He's invested so much gold by the rest of the team that this really is the true carry, and especially when you have a player like Senkux taking a backseat on something like the Lulu, once we get past 15, 20 minutes, you know they're going to give as many minions and resources as possible to Hansama.
Let's see around the mid lane. Jizuke, no flash!
Oh, there's the engage. Mickey catches onto Jizuke. He's simply blown up. Kikis is late on the trigger. Lamb's Respite does not buy enough time. Now the Glitter Lance will slow down Jack Troll. Misfits decide to peel down bottom. Attila, you're on the wrong side of the rift, buddy. He's going to Arcane Shift forward, and Hansama's going to solo him out. 1v1. Someone he'll buy some time. Not done yet. Attila goes down to Hansama.
The ward in the bush keeps Hansama locked and loaded onto Attila. He picks up the kill 1v1 against his rival.
And so many things that is going so well for Misfits. They managed to survive in the bottom lane the first few levels. They have Maxlor forcing flash in mid lane from Jizuke, so now they can go for a follow-up play around the mid lane, and Kikis did not get in range in time. He did not want to flash ult to try and save his mid laner. And now we have kills, Drakes, and Maxlor, he gets his camps.
Look, we knew this battle was going to be about the early game. Both these teams, if they win in the first 15 minutes, they usually end up cleaning house and winning the game. Right now, it's Misfits making all the proactive calls. Every single play seems to be working. And it's right after they got the flash off Jizuke, they can immediately find the engage and blow him up.
Simply nothing Jizuke can do once the flash is gone. Attila expecting Hansama to have left the bottom lane. But then when he just walks straight back, you suddenly get caught. And even if he does manage to pick up a kill here, he will just die because the rest of Misfits could move down and kill him, but they trust Hansama could finish it.
Onsama Auto Attack is doing more than Attila's at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hype
That's
that
how it
1v1.
works, yeah.
It's like he just
They're
kept
right-clicking,
auto-attacking.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for trying, though, Deficio. Scan of the week manages to catch out Mickey. Whoa, the Zenith Blade pulls him all the way forward.
TP behind.
Teleport is coming in from Alfari, instantly cancelled, though. Vitality with the first kill of the game at 13 minutes.
Exactly, that's what they need. Concise, group together, and force plays around this middle lane. It's a perfect little package here of Vitality that they work in every single game.
And very important for Jack Troll that he's actually setting up a play here in this game. It's been a rough start for him on the Leona pick. They put a lot of trust on him in the semifinal, giving him a Poppy support. That didn't work either, but now he's part of something for Vitality. Let's see if we get another fight.
All right, taking a look at this. Mickey's very far away. It's a fight over the Herald. And all of a sudden, that flashes over the wall. 1, 2, 3, Vitality make it out. And it was, in fact, picked up by Maxlaw. Misfits get it. The fight's not done yet. Here comes Mickey, throwing down the quickness. He needs to find a target. Let's not do it. That's a route to the kill into Jack Troll. Misfits find their 4th kill. Now Kicker's doing the fray. Mickey's blown up. Misfits didn't back away. Teleport coming down for Vitality, and Cabo decides to cancel.
Yeah, he cancels it because Misfits just destroyed Vitality in the pit. They had just gotten a pick. Vitality had the tempo lead, but it took too long to take down the Herald. Misfits came up huge, and Maxlor secured the Herald.
Oh yeah, he blinded everyone on the side of Vitality. Took away everything they've just been trying to take down. Hansama once again trying to 1v1 Attila. This time Attila has a way out.
Now, looking at these two junglers, we had such a focus on them early on. Kindred, you know, obviously has those stacks. You want to get those stacks. Sitting on 0 at the moment.
Make a smoke
Maxlor
bomb.
is shutting them down. Actually blinds Kickus so he can't get the smite on the objective. So well played by Maxlor, and then they turn it right back around.
Yeah, Tsuke is trying right here, but the moment he sees Mickey, he's scared. He knows he can engage onto him. There's still no flash on the Syndra, so he needs to run. And while Jack Troll ends up getting caught out, Mickey sadly finds himself too far forward. 1-for-1 trade. Rift held, however, going to Misfits. Have not placed it yet. Maxlaw is just doing his Raptor camp. Both trap in the top lane.
Let's take a look at this. There's no quickness available for Mickey. Still has access to that grand entrance. No flash for Jack Troll either. Keeping an eye on this mini-map. Level 7, level 9. Hansama and Mickey, they're now deciding to push forward. Jack Troll
Such a
holds on to
tease.
Solar Flares
What an
available.
insane play.
I'm literally buying time with the commentary in case a fight breaks out. 6 kills at 15 minutes. Misfits maintain a 1,300 gold lead. And despite some good early plays, Vitality have struck back just a little.
They have struck back, but they're still down. They're going to need to build up more of a lead as Maxlor finds his way into the bottom lane, but obviously not going to be able to lock down this Scion. Cabochard does get out.
Well, it's not done yet. The fight that I wanted a moment or two ago is happening. Jack Troll is rooted. Hansama is obliterating his HP. Featherstorm flying in the air. And Hansama's on a killing spree. 3-0-1 in Madrid.
And we saw Vitality go for this Leona pick to counter out the Rakan, but it's such a binary champion. When you start losing, all you can do is go in, but you're not strong enough to actually go for those types of plays.
Yeah, we saw the entire plan around it. They knew Rakan would be first picked. So they level 2 gank bot lane with the Kindred, with the Leona sitting there trying to set up the play, but they didn't secure a first blood with it. And then later we had that 2v2 fight where Jack Troll ended up dying, giving a first kill over to Hansama. And that's kind of the big problem. Jisuke has actually done well in terms of farm in his lane. The top lane tanks obviously just farming against each other. This was the lane they really needed to win, and that's the one they're currently losing in.
Yeah, Vitality were playing pretty passively here, actually, but they don't have anyone else to try and back them up. And without a flash on Jack Troll, the second he gets CC'd up, there's really no chance on Sama even using his own ultimate to dodge away from the stun and secure the kill.
Still trying to see around Syndra here. The problem for Jisuke is Senkuk's, he's done his job. He hasn't died. He's gonna build a Luden's Echo, then he's gonna build an Ardent Center. He's gonna put it on his 3-0-80 carry, and he's gonna sit back and say, well, my job here is done. I'm just boosting up Hansama, or maybe Maxlor. It's Jisuke who needs to get kills if he wants to carry the game.
Yeah, now I do have some good news. Kickus just got his first mark of this game on the Kindred, so he's finally starting that stacking. Of course, Maxlor at the same time doing stacking of his own here with the Dark Harvest up to 68. Now the magic number is 150. That's when you keep that soul on you.
Oh, it didn't hit him.
So close to interrupting that Rift Herald. Sorry to interrupt there, but with Tower first blood in the top lane, Misfits now have 3,000 gold lead. They have Shelly in the mid lane that can help this potential siege, but it looks like Vitality are nearby to defend. and the Rift Herald is somewhat wasted, obviously timing out just as Maxlow was starting that up.
Yeah, they didn't want to put it bottom lane, I guess, because Alfaro would just get this turret on his own, very soon at least. Another minion wave being pushed in towards it. Coupleshot knows that if he stays in this 1v1 lane, he can't actually help his team. And his team really needs him because he's going to be the big frontline tank. This Leona is very squishy. She can't do it. Sion has to be there for them to win fights.
Yeah, and actually for Vitality, usually in the mid game, the way they do force is with Cabochard rotating. He's usually on these champions that can hard engage from pretty far away, like the Jarvans, the Kleds, or in this case, obviously, the Sion. So if Vitality are going to try and group up and make plays, it will be off the back of him. They just have to choose their battles very wisely because they are down at the moment.
Well, 2 item spikes starting to come in for the AD carries. The Iceborne Gauntlet there for Attila as well as Mirror Mana. Luden's Echo picked up for both respective mid laners, but Hans Summer is where my eyes are. He's got that Storm Raider Razor. He's got the Rapid Fire Cannon. Already plus 25 CS, 301 in the battle of these AD carries. One of the matchups that the analyst desk was talking about that we were expecting to be a pivotal factor. This is exactly what Misfits wanted to do and who they wanted to get ahead.
Let's see around the mid lane. I see a lot of members from Vitality moving down to bottom side.
All right, Mickey's in a lot of trouble, but take a look at that. The combination of Xayah and Rakan means Mickey stays alive. Featherstorms come out. Hans Summer's got the ability to root some people down. Manages to lock in Cabo. Now Hans Summer flashes for his life. Mickey buys enough time for the rest of Misfits.
They got it! Oh my god!
They are still not dead.
What?
Mickey and Hans Summer finally go down. It's a double kill for Jozuke, but Alfari's in the fight. He's already taken him out. They've turned it around and Vitality pushing for the tower.
Misfits just pulled off a 3v5 while the rest of their team, Maxlor and Senkux, are hard shoving in the mid lane. They've already gotten one. They're looking for a second turret.
Oh my god. Maxlor Senkux gets another one. And Mickey on this Rakan in the bottom lane. What a play from him.
This is exactly why Rakan has been banned every other game against Misfits.
He will never get to play this champion again. This is going to be banned in every single game following in this series. He stayed alive for so long, abusing the extra range you get to try and jump towards your Xayah. So well done.
But once we get the replay here, we just got to see the whole setup on the side of Vitality when they're trying to tower dive. A lot of things went wrong, and they were also kind of hesitating, not 100% knowing if they should actually do it, despite 2 Misfits players still being around the mid lane. But for now, it is still just Misfits looking towards vision around Baron.
Not going to find it just yet. We saw the drop down just a moment ago, gentlemen. When Vitality are behind at 20 minutes, they are 0-6. Now the pressure is still on in the middle lane. As Misfits, they've established all of that vision in the top outer quadrant. They have 4 towers secured already, a 5,000 gold lead, and Misfits are poised to completely solidify their control of this game.
Don't get me wrong, Misfits are miles ahead at the moment, but usually Vitality don't draft ways back into the game. Let's look at this one more time.
It's 5 Vitality players on the way to the bottom lane. Jack Troll has ulti right now, and he can try and use it early. He doesn't want to do that because of flashes. Then he tries to stun the turret with the ulti. That doesn't do anything for his team. And now Mickey, because he stayed alive and saved the flash, he can use it aggressively to now save his AD carry.
Such a fantastic performance coming out of Misfits. And of course, that replay brought to you by Acer Predator. They managed to stay alive. The cross map is something else that was very impressive. Maxlor with the help of Senkux, I think it was, shoving down that mid tower, maintaining control of the map, maintaining awareness of where they can get advantage.
Now, before the replay, I was trying to bring up the fact that Vitality actually have ways back into this game, it feels like. Usually, they've got a lot more melee champions. They don't have the late game DPS, but on a pick like the Kindred, Kickus definitely has options later on.
And talking about that Kindred, you see just how troublesome Maxlor's Grave smokescreen becomes. There was a lot of damage thrown down on the Senkux, and Kickus instantly interrupted by that smokescreen.
Exactly, and that's really why for Vitality to get back in the game, they have to catch a target. If they try in a pure 5-on-5 and burn down one player, Senkux is there on the Lulu to just shield and wild growth this target here. And when you then blow everything on one guy, Mickey will engage onto you, and Hans Summer Maxlor can deal enough damage to kill you. So this is what they're trying to do. This is a correct play. Try and catch people while they're not sitting next to the Lulu.
Now, what I want to see from Vitality in order to set up for these picks is deeper vision, because this is actually a weakness of the team where a lot of times they just look to force plays without the proper setup beforehand. So I like the fact there are now some wards in Misfits territory, and that will inform them of which fights they can actually go for.
We'll see whether or not they can make use of that information, because for Vitality trying to set up that Jack Troll ultimate play, the Solar Flare is around 1 minute and 15 seconds between cooldowns right now. He's currently only level 11, but look at the vision the Misfits have established. They are pushing it deeper and deeper into Vitality's territory, and Deficio, they're setting up very clearly for some plays around Baron.
Yeah, they've actually shown us here in playoffs some better Baron setups than we saw in the regular season, where there was a huge problem for Misfits. Now they're looking for kills.
All right, Kikis with that Dance of Arrows able to escape from Mickey's quickness. No further follow-up. True Shot Barrage actually catches 2 of 4 on the way back up. But Vitality, it's 4,000 gold in the deficit. Cabo Shot is uncontested in the bottom lane, and this will be the second tower for Vitality.
Yeah, right now Misfits grouped up because they don't have teleport where Cabo Shard does. So this is actually really good from Vitality to try and claw back in the gold just a little bit. And now they'll actually be the ones with a little bit of priority here where they can put down some vision around this Baron as soon as they see Alfari down bottom lane to pick up this wave.
Everything is still in the favor of Misfits. And nothing right now is in favor of Jack Troll on the Leona. All the eyes on him. At this point in the game, especially because he's this far down, everything he brings is the ulti, one all-in where he stuns a target, and then he dies. Let's see if they can use it. They're starting Baron. It is in vision because of the Rift Scuttler here.
All right, they're going to peel away just a moment or two after starting it. Alfari doesn't have teleport available to him. And the rest of Vitality, they are in fact grouped in this top quadrant now. There's been enough time for Misfits to group up and get closer together. Alfari and Senkux making their way up. And Kikis looking for an opportunity. Deficio, you can just feel Vitality, they're looking for a fight. They're looking for a way to use the engage they have.
Exactly. They know they need to force this pick here. It's so hard if it's just a pure 5-on-5 where all of Misfits are together, where Senkux can buff up one of his range carries. Oh, Jack Trolls, look how squishy this guy is.
Every single time Mickey steps forward, I'm waiting for some sort of engage. The quickness is a couple seconds away, and Mickey has flash available to him. So Misfits, they can turn the trigger on, and they're going to do it on Attila. Hans Sama already has a crit to his name. Summon a heal, used by Attila. Summon a flash, used by Attila. And Hans Sama, with the help of Mickey, take him down.
Hans Sama does so much damage right now, and he doesn't even have the Infinity Edge just yet. Right now, Vitality have control over the mid lane, so they're still set up well around this Baron buff, but Misfits are working as a 5-man unit to look for kills.
This is a temporary 4v4. Senkux will be coming in from the south. He's now managed to make it to the team, and Kikis almost gets 2 shot. He's knocked up into the air. Lamb's Respite will simply not be enough. Feast goes down, but take a look at that. Featherstorm picks up one. End of the line picks up another. And yes, Jizuke gets a kill down onto Maxlaw. Wild Growth simply not quick enough.
That's not for Maxlaw.
Unleashed power.
That's only for Ansama. That's what Senkux is telling us right here. But Vitality 4 versus 5 are trying to stop Misfits from going Baron, so they look for a fight. But Alfari with Righteous Glory will always get to them.
Now, they don't have a jungler, and they don't have the Feast on Alfari, so they're really setting up here to lock this down and maybe potentially get a turn if they can.
All right, Cabashot's still got that unstoppable onslaught if he wants to. His presence alone has been enough to dissuade Misfits. Here comes Attila.
Okay.
Jizuke's running low.
No mana.
Throws the Scuttle Crab. Cabashot's still in amongst the fight. He's looking for the decimating smash. Knocks off a few. Attila's silenced. He can't throw out the Qs because the Feral Scream is so powerful. Forced Arcane Shift defensively, running for his life. Hans Sama shuts him down. He's on a killing spree, and Misfits maintain control.
They find the turn they wanted exactly. Now Maxlor has respawned. They have the Feast, so this is the perfect option. The opportunity to move on towards this Baron. It's going to be up to Kikis to keep Vitality's hopes alive in this game.
Oh, he has no flash on his side. Yes, there is a smite, but he's not even trying. He's walked away from it. He knows there's so little he can actually do. And this game here, in these last couple of minutes, it just feels like Vitality are running headfirst into the fist of Misfits. They're constantly trying to force engages when there are multiple members down. This is just 2 players. Kabashar is actually doing a perfect job. But then Attila joins.
Yeah, but look at this. Jizuke already very low on mana. He has a sick combo at the start. Now he has nothing. Literally can't spam out any Qs at this point, so it's only Attila who can only hit 1 member at a time. And when there's a giant Cho'Gath body blocking every single Mystic shot you throw, you're not going to have an impact in that fight.
Didn't see any auto attacks after that Feral Scream landed, and it's so difficult to deal with. You can see it, you can feel it. Attila facepalm in game 1 in this best of 5, and Vitality are significantly behind. Attila 1-3-1 on that Ezreal, 2.5 items, coming up against an Infinity Edge, Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, and a QSS. So Misfits have all of the tools they need in the carry they want, and they've got a Lulu backing him up.
Look, we knew this series was going to be decided by the AD carries and the junglers, and right now, Misfits, Hansama, and Maxor came out to play. Hansama is absolutely destroying in this match. Maxor kept Kikis on a tight leash, and they set up Misfits perfectly to try and crack open the base.
I think Mickey is trying to say it's not the AD carries, it's the bot laners, the combination of the two. Because this game, it's been Mickey setting up everything on the Rakan. Let's see around mid lane.
Trust a former support to look for that as well.
Oh my god!
What? Alfari! Gobble, gobble, gobble!
It's nom nom nom, Trevor! It's nom nom nom!
Not when you're as old as I am. And now Misfits, after eating Kickers legitimately alive, push into the base. They've got Baron enabled. They've got their inhibitor. 12 kills to Vive, 9,000 gold in the lead, and Alfari, he did it again. His Cho'Gath is phenomenal.
It's actually just insane. He goes into top lane matchups where we think he's supposed to lose. He turns them around. He finds himself in a 1v2. Well, guess what? He's going to pick up that kill as well. You can see in the bottom left, Kikis thought they had the numbers advantage, but Alfari silenced him and said, no, you can't ult. I'm going to chunk you and kill you.
Just for what it's worth, there was around about 900 damage, true damage on that Feast. Because, of course, that single kill, Misfits now set themselves up for another inhibitor. Take a look at Mickey, proving it's the bot laners that are taking the game for Misfits. Mickey is going to get a reply back as Jack Shot the Feast again! Kikis is able to get down Lamthresh, but Vitality are running for their lives. They've got not enough HP. They can't do it. The inhibitor is still alive, but Atela's trying to do stuff on the side. Jizuke's still got access to that ultimate. He hasn't found a target available, and Wild Growth is used. Maxwell takes down Jack Troll. It's a reply as Alfari goes down. The inhibitor still stands, and still nothing more for Vitality.
Oh, Jizuke never found a target. He kept standing on the side. Senkuk's trying to kill him.
Whoa! Take a look at that. Senkuk takes down Jizuke before the unleashed power can even be used. It's 30 minutes on the clock, and this might be the death now for Vitality.
Jizuke was trying to hold on to the base for his team, but there's an exposed inhibitor up top. Misfits are still sticking around with 4 members. There's minions on the Nexus towers. They're looking for the win.
Baron empowered minions for another 12 seconds. The Nexus turrets are falling like dominoes, being cut through like a hot knife through butter. Misfits have got so much damage to deal with, and Kikis is living in grayscale. He's dead once again. Solar Flare catches onto Hansama, and Wild Growth buys some time. He stays alive, takes down Jack Troll, Mickey, Senkux, everybody enabling Hansama. The knock up into the air, the triple kill. It's a quadra. Not gonna happen as Maxwell takes him down. Misfits win game 1.
This ended up being the perfect start to a best of 5 for Misfits. Vitality at side selection, they picked red side. They said, we're gonna give you Rakan. We have the Leona counter pick. It's ready, it's planned. It completely backfires in the bottom lane. Hansama and Mickey, they get super far ahead, and then Misfits just run over Vitality.
And what a statement to make as well, because now you think about Vitality, well, they have to ban the Rakan, maybe even the Cho'Gath, because Alfari has been a god on that pick. Misfits showed up, executed a strategy that worked against Fnatic, and put Vitality way down.
Misfits show up. Hansama doing what was expected of him, but I think important to talk about the supporting crew. Mickey, flawless on that Rakan. You can see why it's been banned so many times. And Senkux, the man on your screen, 206 on that Lulu. That was what you needed. He played well despite the laning phase falling behind. It's what you expect in that kind of matchup.
Exactly. And now, as I said, during the game, we've had 3 games here from Vitality in playoffs. 2 in the semifinal now, 1 in the 3rd place game, where they're trying to find a new non-meta pick for Jack Troll. The Poppy twice against Schalke, now the Leona here. And they're simply not working. I need to see Jack Troll just back on Comfort, a more traditional pick, because having him as kind of the joker in your draft is not a successful strategy for Vitality.
Especially when these champions, all they can do is go in. There's no getting out of those fights on a Poppy or Leona, so Vitality need to refresh their perspective a bit and not go all ham after they fall behind the Misfits.
And take a look in the ready room. Vitality, stern and serious faces. It started falling apart during that laning phase, and there was never an engage that you felt like Vitality landed. They didn't land that 1-2 punch with that Syndra Leona combination. Now, this was Vitality's side selection as well. They picked red side. in game number 1. They opted into those matchups and it didn't pan out. It'll be up to Misfits to take charge in the next game.
Yeah, they can easily grab blue side and say, so you ban the Urgot? Do you ban the Rakan as well? Well, you're almost running out of bans now.
Well, listen, there's not a lot of time for Vitality to figure out where we can get a little bit more insight in the games. Head over to the analyst desk.
Very much, Trevor. We are now looking at Vitality, who need to think hard and long about what they're going to do in Game 2, because Game 1 was all Misfits all over. Let's start by picks and bans, and it feels to me like Misfits stuck to what actually did work for them in a lot of parts of their semi-final versus Fnatic, putting Senkux on something that can help out the team, a tank for Alphari, and damage dealers for jungle and bot.
So I'll be honest, I was a little concerned when I saw this draft because it felt like it was the same Misfits going up against Fnatic. And then I remembered, oh wait, it's the same Misfits going up against Fnatic that was actually a very close series. And I think what we saw was that this 2 versus 2 in the bot lane was incredible once again.
Yeah, and I think even though the game seemed very one-sided for Misfits, I actually believe that the draft was actually very good from Vitality's side, because if you look at the matchups, Kindred is winning against Graves, Syndra is winning against Lulu, and Leona and Ezreal should be winning against Saya Rakan. So you actually have a winning mid, a winning jungle, and a winning bot lane. But I think individually, they just completely fell apart.
Yeah, in theory, it works. In the game, it didn't work as such. Before we get to our first replays, let's recap our win conditions, our keys to victory for Misfits, because they did a lot what we thought they would do to approach this game.
Exactly that. Number 1, play to their bot lane strengths. Well, they got their bot lane a strong 2 versus 2. And as you rightly said, Cold, yes, in terms of the actual 2 versus 2, you do expect the Leona Ezreal to have the advantage, but it was just an outplay multiple times coming out from Mickey and Hansama, punishing the small mistakes that we saw mainly from Jack Troll in that 2 versus 2 setup. And we saw a Syndra, a non-roaming mid for Vitality.
Definitely. I think what the approach they had to the game, I actually liked a lot. They just didn't execute on what they had to do. I think Kikis and Jisuke, we see here, didn't actually play to their strengths. They had a lot of potential to make early game plays, but they actually didn't play around it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree. When I see the picks coming out, you like that Jizuke is on something else that gives him agency in the mid lane, of which he can show that he can dominate his opponent in Senkux, but that's not how the game's played out. Now, let's take a look at some early replays, what it was all from Misfits. Early game is so important in this series. We know Vitality, when they have a good early game, they are on fire, but it was Misfits who dealt the first blows.
And this is even after that Vitality ganked the bottom side and forced Hansama's flash. So a lot of props to that bot lane. I think a lot of it came down to how they handled the lane and how they controlled the wave, because they always had the wave in front of a tower. And that's so important when you play against an aggressive pick like Leona, who wants to all in all the time. So a lot of props to the bot lane, and they just simply 2v2 outplayed them.
Also tricky for Leona, as said already by the casters. It is one of those picks that when you do get ahead, you can become tankier, you get that W on, and you can withstand what they throw at you. But when you're behind, it is very hard to be an agent in those team fights.
Very hit or miss.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult to pull off. And the moment they started losing those 2 versus 2s, things started to go downhill for the side of Vitality.
That it did. Before we go to that, I would want to highlight Maxlore. We talked a lot about Kikis versus Maxlore and who would be able to put their stamp on this one. In the early game, Maxlore and his Graves did so much damage and were especially important in the early phases.
And what I want to point at is the gold difference, because this really shows to me that he understands how to play this jungle matchup. He plays Graves against Kindred. He doesn't really want to match the Kindred early game. He want to play for camps, he want to play for farm, and get lead this way around. And I think that really showed in the game.
Yeah, and I think it's great to see from Maxlore, and I think it kind of cements this idea that Misfits consider him to be the stronger carry compared to Senkux, which is why we are seeing this style of Senkux being put onto these more supportive style of mid laners. And I think that they will continue that throughout the series, because I also think it's really important when you are going up against Vitality, where one of their big players that they rely on is Kikis in the jungle.
Yeah, I love it. It's a variation on just having your mid and AD carry be the damage dealers. Is Maxlore can be that. For Misfits, it looks good for them.
And what is exciting for me is the fact that because they're doing exactly the same that they did in the semifinal, we know they have to go through the gauntlet, regardless of how it's going to go today. So obviously, they don't want to show too much what they have prepared. And I think that's going to make them very scary going into gauntlet if they can just destroy Vitality with the same kind of style.
That's a great point. In the mid game, Vitality was very far behind. They did have some opportunities to get back in the game, or at least they tried. Let's take a look at this following replay in the bottom lane. Vitality is going to throw everything at Misfits, and even though they win the trade, I want to point out Mickey X on that Rakan.
Yeah, I tweeted about it. I have to say it again. I do believe that Mickey's Rakan is one of the best in the world. The fact that he has so much awareness of what he can do on the champion, where he needs to be, and every opportunity he can just maximize upon, he just does it. And he is so impressive to watch. You can understand why it was banned 8 out of 8 times so far in the playoffs.
This play is just exactly what Vitality always does when they fall behind. They look for 5-man play, try to make a team fight happen, and in this case, I think they just didn't execute it properly, and then it looks beautiful when Mickey is on Rakan.
Well, we looked at a couple of key matchups, you know, AD carry and jungle, but could the discrepancy between Mickey X and Jack Troll be what decides a lot of these games?
Based on what we've seen so far, I feel like it could very well be. The fact that Mickey has always been a huge playmaker, and the fact that the 2v2 bot lane is just finding advantages by themselves without that much assistance from Maxlaw, is something that Vitality need to rectify moving on throughout the series.
To me, if you get the opportunity to counterpick the support, and you then again lose the lane and have less impact, for me that's a huge flaw. So either they have to remove the Rakan, or they just simply accept the fact that they misplayed and then they try it again. I think higher chance they will remove the Rakan from the game, because it's just too much of a power pick for Misfits.
Yeah, it seems like a high chance they'll remove their own Leona from the next game, but we'll see. As we button up this game, from that point on, it was all Misfits all the time. We talked about the bottom lane being ahead, and Hans Sama, he just did it himself by the end. He didn't allow anyone else to take any kills, rather. He just killed Attila over and over again.
Yeah, we have to keep talking about Hans Sama and this bot lane because of how impressive they are when it comes to Misfits winning. If this duo can find a lead, then they always look strong, and they're so impactful in getting Misfits ahead in these leads. And now we're just looking at some of the mid-game fights where Misfits, with that early game lead, just started ripping through Vitality.
And it looks like when in the semifinals, when they played versus Fnatic, Misfits had a wonderful early game, but against team fighting Fnatic, it is very, very difficult to win. Vitality are not that team, so in essence, if they do the same thing, they should be able to win here.
It is very, very different though, because the way Fnatic was drafting in the semifinal was way more scaling. And then if you're not able to execute the game when you have the lead, then the scaling will just come through, and then they will just start winning the team fights. But we know Vitality, they like to draft for early game, but in this game, they just collapse in the early game. And then you don't really have the ability to come back in the game, and that's the biggest flaw in their draft if they don't execute in the early game.
And I'm looking forward to game 2 because Misfits have selected red. This means that they'll be the one to get the counter pick, and given that they've already won lanes in matchups that they should have been losing, now the fact that they'll have winning lanes is even scarier for Vitality.
So are we looking at Vitality to alter their comms? They did have the Ezreal, which is scaling, but what other elements do you want to see go to the scaling side if they want to have more of a chance?
I think the draft doesn't matter, honestly. If you go into a game, if you go into a game and you don't execute on what your champion can do, then it doesn't matter what you draft. I think it's more important for them to mentally just reset themselves. It was just one game. You need to be ready to perform with the champions you have and play to the conditions, and that's where they really failed.
They have to reset Vitality because Misfits are looking for redemption here tonight, and they got off to a great start. Let's see if they can take us to match point right after this.